Now, I've been playing The Sims 4 since it first came out in 2014, and over the years, yes, we've seen fixes, we've seen updates, we've seen paid DLC, and some of those things have covered the stuff that annoys me most about this game. However, there are still plenty of things that just absolutely grind my gears, and every so often, I like to get those things off my chest. I like to make a dedicated video about it, just so that I can rant. I feel like letting all my thoughts and feelings out into the world actually then lets me sit back, relax, and be like, it's not that serious at the end of the day. It's a video game. How about we don't get so annoyed? But I specifically wanted to make this video about UI changes I personally would introduce into The Sims 4 to help me as a player and hopefully a lot of other players of The Sims 4, because there is a specific mod that has been released that I think actually helps with one of the major issues that I have whilst playing this game, and I'm excited to test this out, but also to kind of give some other thoughts and feelings to how I would expand on this. And obviously it's a mod. At the end of the day, not everyone can play on mods. Only PC and Mac players can play with mods, and even then not everyone likes playing with mods, and I would always prefer fixes like this to come officially from within the Sims team. But one of the biggest issues that I have with the game at the minute is the Simology Panel. Me and the Simology Panel have beef. She overshares far too much, and I need her to like just shut her mouth for 5 minutes. I need her to get her priorities in check. She is infuriating. Pretty much every single pack release, we get some form of a new addition to the Simology Panel. She is far too big. She's overwhelming. I don't think that they prioritize the panels well enough a lot of the time, and I personally need her to be looked at. I need some form of organization in the Simology Panel, and that is exactly what Simatically has done. So like I said, this is a mod. You can download it off Matt's Patreon, and it is the better Simology Panel. Now, I think just yesterday this got like a paid early access update. So the early access update is to do with the Sims traits. It kind of has like different tabs on it, which is great. But I wanted to obviously talk about the Simology, because it used to be that it was just like one long list and you had to go through it every single time, close the categories that you didn't want to see, open the categories that you did want to see. When or if this comes out officially, I would absolutely love it if you could like pin certain ones and you could change the order of certain things. But I think for right now, this mod will do the job for me. This is the trait organization. So there are actually tabs. They are by identity, rewards, temporary, status, and then of course you can have all, which is quite nice, especially for those of you who have bought a lot of reward traits and your Sims are like overloaded. I know there's a lot of legacy players out there, a lot of super sim players out there. Just to show you how this actually looks in game, I have Eloise. She is my all collection challenge girly, which does make me think that they are actually looking into the UI and kind of how to make it look nicer, how to make it easier for like newer players and honestly even older players, because obviously with the release of Enchanted by Nature, we got an updated households collection UI, which I have to say, this is way better than what we initially had. I am doing the all collections challenge, which means I obviously have an awful lot of collections, and I think this is way more satisfying to like see what you have completed. I think it's way easier to see like the bonus collections that you can have and how far you have got into those, as well as the standard collection. I was a big fan. So Sims team, I just need more of this. But if we actually go over to our Simology panel, obviously originally all of these were just listed and you could bring this all the way up up and you still wouldn't be able to see everything if it was all open. However, now with Simatically's mod, these all have different tabs. So the first one you have is personality, preferences, accomplishments and growth, public standing, inner harmony, and neighborhood action plans. Kind of split up, I guess, like into some form of like expansion packs, especially for like the NAPs, for example. They were obviously introduced with the Sims 4 eco lifestyle. Inner harmony is for those of you who have enchanted by nature, so you have luck and imbalance. Again, you can just like open these up in the tab depending on what you want to see. Public standing is your public image from Get Famous, so your like fame points and how your reputation is doing. And then your Batu reputation, I know we've all forgotten about that one. Underneath the accomplishments and growth, currently it is only milestones. Preferences, you have your likes and dislikes, as well as like your romantic turn-ons and turn-offs and your relationship preferences. And then in personality, you have ghost mastery. Then we still have our traits. I actually don't have the version that splits your traits up. A lot of these would be part of the rewards. These are ones that I've got from completing aspirations or buying them through the reward store. And then also lifestyles, if you have Snowy Escape. Still wish it was official, and I do wish that you could change your UI around. I wish you could click and drag in like the order that you wanted it in. I wish that you could pin certain things so that they were always at the top for like certain Sims. I really wish that UI was a little bit more customizable depending on the Sim you were playing. And this doesn't only go for the Simology panel. There are things I use on the phone way more frequently than I use other things. For example, I use travel literally all of the time. I don't really know how they decided what order these would be in, considering they're not in like alphabetical order. They just seem to be like dead higgledy-piggledy. For example, I use the camera way more than I ever use Trendy or Cupid's Corner. I think you should be able to maybe customize your Sims phone the way you can customize your phone in real life. I wish that you could maybe add folders, or again, just like pin things and change the order around. I think The Sims is so customizable, and I love that about this game. I love obviously all of the creator sim assets, how like customizable sexual orientation and gender and pronouns are and things like that, but sometimes I wish that they gave that customizability to your UI just to make it more personal to you. My personal order would probably be home first, travel second, then probably social, entertainment, photography, shopping, and then honestly business still on the first page. I basically think Cupid's Corner and Trendy should be bumped down to the second page. Same with Social Bunny, or just like take some of those and have them further down. It's all well and good being able to change your phone background color. How many times do you do this for your Sims? Let me know. Do you change your background color like for every single Sim that you have? And then you can also change their case. So when they actually whip it out and they're actually on their phone, it does look different. There we go. She's just changed her phone case to, oh, stop it. I actually really like the little mixtape, but I never used that feature. You know what I would use more? Being able to customize my phone. Another thing that had been changed recently, and I actually didn't even know that this was part of an update. I have to say, I think because updates recently have been kind of releasing around the same time as packs, I haven't really done like dedicated videos to updates, which also means that I'm not really paying attention to what is coming in the updates. This one absolutely slipped under my radar, but they did allow a new category in your inventory. The inventory just in general needs a massive overhaul. I've said this for so many years now. I think it was like back in 2020, 2021, I did a video going over 13 things that annoyed me about The Sims 4, and this was one of my number one ones. Is it because I'm playing the All Collections Challenge, so therefore it is absolutely overrun in here? Absolutely. But I am quite a sentimental Sims player. I love having stuff in my inventory. I love being able to pull from my inventory to give gifts to other Sims. I like seeing the life that my Sim has lived through their inventory, and I just wish that this functioned so much better. I know that we have like the filter items, but let's be so real. Filtering and the tagging system just like isn't great in The Sims 4. I actually think this is probably one of the best functionalities of like tag stuff that we have, but sometimes you expect an item to be like part of a tag and then it's not, and then you're like, okay, now I have to like decipher where it is. Like, why are the brooms and wands under home objects and marbles aren't in the objects for little ones, even though I'm fairly sure kids are the only ones who can play marbles? I wish that we could just like drag things together and that would create a folder, and then we'd be able to name that folder whatever we wanted. I wish that I could have folders for collections. I wish that I could have folders for like rewards that my Sims have found. Folders would make my life so much easier when it comes to the inventory, because I am a hoarder in video games at heart. I also really wish that alongside the filter items, we also had a search bar. Like, being able to type in, one of the biggest and best upgrades to The Sims 4 was this search bar in build mode. Like, the fact that you can just type in void critter and then it will come up with like different void critter items is absolutely exquisite. I would absolutely love that functionality if it also existed in our inventory. Being able to find stuff in your hot mess of an inventory would be delightful. I guess running with the folders theme, I do also think that we should have folders both in build and buy mode and create a sim. I've said it time and time again, but I feel like create a sim is like sorely lagging behind the rest of the game. It feels like we get updates to build and buy mode and also updates obviously to like gameplay and UI, etc. so frequently. However, we don't ever get updates for create a sim, and it just feels like a tool that's falling so far behind the rest of the game. Like, create a sim is almost exactly the same now as it was 11 years ago when this game released. The only things that have really changed in create a sim are them adding new categories and obviously like a couple of new tools like being able to paint your animals, etc. I think the folders in build and buy mode makes much more sense. Like, they already have styled rooms and you can save rooms from the gallery. This is already a little folder icon, but you can't make your own folders. I think this was a feature back in The Sims 2, and I used to make like folders of like items that I used all the time, or like I would have like surfer items in a folder, and I just think that needs to happen in The Sims 4. I think we should be able to save our own folders in build and buy mode, create our own, add our own items in there, favorite items that you use a lot of the time. You can make folders pretty much for anything. It would also be really cool if you could like share your folders on the gallery and then other players could download them. Say if you're a build creator and you use like a lot of hacks quite frequently with like different items, you could make a dedicated folder towards that hack so that players could like watch a tutorial over on your YouTube channel and then be like, oh, okay, cool, they've collated all of those items that they've used and I can just download that folder off the gallery. I just think that's a really cool idea. Color me impressed with my own brain. Sorry, I had the brain cell for today. And obviously in Create Sim, we already have styled looks. I think this could be added as like maybe a wardrobe icon or something, maybe just under styled looks. They could add this functionality to styled looks, which I know a bunch of other creators have talked about in the past, with just being able to like create your own styled looks. But I think a kind of like wardrobe with folders kind of works a little bit better. And again, these could be shareable so that people could like find your favorite like creator sim items. For example, if I made a video on like how I style mail sims, I could create a folder with like my most used assets that I use on mail sims, and then people would be able to see that folder. Yes, it could just link to obviously the items that they have. If they, for example, didn't have modern menswear and I was using an item from there, it just wouldn't appear in their folder, it wouldn't appear in their game. But I definitely think that could be a great addition, and I just wish that we could favorite items and be able to like use those favorited items. Also, another cheeky little update that I think The Sims 4 Creator Sim should have: you should be able to choose how many columns you want. Even without custom content nowadays, that if you have every pack, you have an awful lot of assets hiding in your creator sim. I think this could genuinely just work the same way as the UI scaler. If your game or like your monitor that you're using might be affected by like how many columns you add, you could have a little warning that's like, hey, some of Creator Sim could be cut off by the amount of columns that you are currently using. As long as they give that disclaimer, you could have this be from like 2 to 3 to 4, maybe not even the 5 that I have. This has been, again, a mod since, oh my goodness, I can't even remember, but it's by the one and only Weirbizu, and it's called the More Columns mod. I will actually link both of the mods that I've spoken about in the description down below. It makes Creator Sim so much more digestible. It pains me when I have to go and play in like early access. I know, what a feckin' privileged take, okay? First world problems indeed. But when I see those 2 columns in Creator Sim, I actually thank the watcher that I only have the base game and usually the pack installed, because it means that I don't have to troll through it all. Even just like the tags nowadays, like it's so much effort. I know, again, another first world problem, to scroll through these and like decide what pack you want to show off. And I wish when you actually used these tags, I wish it applied to every category, not just every outfit. So I wish if I chose Enchanted by Nature for the bottoms, it would also come up with Enchanted by Nature for the tops. I'll hold my hands up and say for this one in particular, I haven't really thought about how I would actually want it to work, or like how I would actually like to see these split up. So I guess it's not feedback in the best sense, but I just think there's something currently wrong with the game options. Like something just feels iffy to me. It's particularly the game options. Like sometimes it just feels like they could maybe create like different subsections under gameplay. Like right now it just feels like they're like, oh, we don't really know where to put this, let's just throw it into the game options, and it's all just under gameplay. I wish that there was maybe one for like aging, and then a separate one for like autonomy, and then I wish that these ones were kind of in the pack settings, even though I do also wish that the pack settings one was changed and maybe this had like subfolders underneath for each pack instead of them just having like these drop down menus, because I do feel like it's quite overwhelming to like load into a new save and then you have to scroll through all of this and you're like, hey, do I want this in this specific save? Do I want this disabled? Do I want this enabled? And it's just like a lot right now. I just think that they could very much tidy up specifically pack settings and the gameplay. I don't really have too much of like a beef with any others apart from tutorial and tips. If this is unchecked, make sure it's unchecked for every single save that I start after I uncheck this, okay? Because this always turns itself back on and I cry about it every time. Even just having an other, I'm like, that's just like throwing miscellaneous into a game when I was 6 years old and expecting me to know what it meant. Like, how am I meant to know what is under other? If you have any suggestions for how they should like split up game options and like make it flow a little bit better, I would honestly love to hear it in the comments down below. Or is that just like a me issue? Do I have a skill issue? Last but certainly not least, because I know people are very, very serious about this one, but it is the calendar, which is funny because I feel like I've been starting to see the hate train of seasons pick up. which I'm actually really, really excited about. I feel like I've kind of been a silent hater of seasons for a very, very long time. And for so long, I felt like ridiculous in thinking that because it felt like it was such a favorite of like the community, but every day I see more and more people talking about their distaste for that pack and how it should have been better and it was sloppy. Of course, I do have my beef with seasons for reasons such as I feel like it only adds weather, and a lot of people have been saying that weather just kind of feels like a vanity. More of a valid like thought, I think, nowadays, considering it does feel like potentially seasons are kind of being like traded out for other things in new packs. Like even most recently, Everdew can't actually have snow, and they tried to kind of tie it into the lore of like Mother Nature being like, oh, I think I broke Everdew when I like created the Moondrop Strings, which is like fun and quirky, and I'm glad that they like at least try to excuse it in like the story. But at the end of the day, it just meant that, you know, it doesn't get snow. I don't think the Life and Death world got snow, or maybe it was just like a specific neighborhood. I can't actually remember. But yeah, over the last few releases, it has felt like seasons are kind of taking a backseat, which is a little concerning. I got off topic, but I have my own issues with seasons for the fact that I don't really think there's enough activities to even warrant that being like an expansion pack. I know it took a lot of work. I know it probably took a lot of budget to make the seasons for like every single world that we have in The Sims 4, but I think they could have added way more like actual activities that you could do. I really miss the like fairs that came into town in the Sims 3 seasons, but I know that people want a massive overhaul of the household calendar. I mean, when it comes to the UI, I think it's fine, but also I do think that you should be able to like disable certain things. You should be able to remove it. Obviously, like not every sim should be told about like the football team sports day. They also blast really loud notifications in everyone's ears whenever they happen, but we can't delete these. Even if your sim isn't in high school, you still have these on your calendar, which is just like ridiculous because like why would I want to be notified about that? You should just be able to remove stuff that you don't want to celebrate actually on your calendar. You can get to the day when it comes to holidays specifically, and you can delete holidays specifically, but you can't like delete anything else, which sometimes you just want to hide these without being able to like filter them. Like still know that they're going on if you want to, but just hide them from your calendar a little bit more easily than just like the filtering system, because like I said, we all know filtering systems aren't the best. But even just being able to like save your own holidays, again, you should be able to save your favorites and have them as templates so that when you load into a new save, you can just easily add the same holidays like over and over again. Even if they just added like a little checkbox to be like, okay, I want to be notified about these events and then not notified about the ones that are unchecked. However, I have actually just realized that even if you close a calendar and you've chosen to put filters on it, the filters do actually stay. So if you are just like overwhelmed with the amount that you have on your calendars, I would definitely say play around with the tags. It's not going to stop you from getting like notifications about things happening, but it does kind of make it a little bit easier for you to digest the calendar. Those, I guess, are UI updates, quality of life features and updates I would love to see in the game. I really, really appreciate the collections one. I don't think that one was like the most necessary in my opinion. I would say the Simology one is probably the most necessary, and then definitely like adding folders into many areas. Those would be the two, if anything, that I would want to see implemented officially into The Sims 4. But of course, I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts on this. Is there anything about The Sims UI or certain like quality of life features that you would like to see updated in the next few months? Also, if there are any that I have maybe talked about today where you're like, yeah, that's a good idea, but here's like an expansion upon the idea. I feel like the calendar one for sure. I don't honestly even really like do my own holidays anymore. I don't really make them all that often just because the way that I'm playing the game right now, it doesn't really call for that kind of like storytelling, I guess. But maybe if it were easier to take them from save to save, I would play with them more frequently. But because I'm not playing with them like all of the time, I feel like I personally don't have like the best ways on what I would update and how I would go about it. Whereas the ones that I do play with a lot and have to stare directly in the face all the time, I'm like, right, you need to change. You needed to change yesterday, actually, or like 7 years ago. But thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you for all of your comments that I know you're going to leave down below. I appreciate you all so, so much, and I will speak to you all in my next one. I just love getting to rant. I love that you lot allow me to express myself nationally, internationally, even.